don't know how many times I've made this video. This is a video I literally never thought I'd be making. Never really thought I'd be dealing with something like this. But here we go. I have anorexia. I don't really know how to make this video, but I'll try my best, so just bear with me. I wanted to make this video to help others that might be dealing with it. I want to make this video to help others understand what it is, what I'm going through, because I felt like this was something that I was keeping a secret for a while, and I don't want it to be a secret because I feel like I can't talk about it, and then conversations come up and I don't know how to respond because I can't just get into my eating disorder or anorexia or whatever right then and there. So I wanted to make this video to explain what it is in a way and what I deal with, because every anorexia story is different. Everybody struggles different. So it's not really like you can just watch one video on YouTube on one person's story and base them all like that. Some people, you know, the cause of anorexia isn't known. We don't really know why it starts, what happens, all this stuff. I've never been in a unhealthy relationship to the point that, like, or really any of them, for someone to put that on me. It was just something that kind of happened in my mind. It is said that eating disorders are genetic, though. Especially with anorexia, it's supposed to be genetic. I don't know anyone in my family that deals with it, though, so I don't really know where I get it from. But that's really all we really know about it. And anorexia nervosa, I don't really know how to pronounce that last word, to be honest, but that's supposed to be the full name of it, is a type of eating disorder where you don't eat as much as your body's supposed to, with the fear that you're gonna gain weight. A lot of times it's paired up with depression and anxiety and stress and what else? Exercise, over-exercising. I can see this little hair and it's bugging me and I don't know where it is. So that's great. It's not something I've particularly been dealing with for a long time. It is September, almost October, and I've been dealing with it since March or April, maybe. May for sure. I want to say April is kind of when it, I mean, I always had thoughts, you know, and feeling and insecurities and feeling like what I was eating was bad for me and I was gonna get fat. And it started getting worse, though, and it started getting to the point that I was skipping meals and not eating when I'm hungry because we didn't have any healthy food in the house, so I would choose not to eat instead of eating, you know, a Little Debbie or some chips or whatever we had in the house, an Oreo, I don't know, Cheez-Its, whatever it was that we had in the house. I would choose not to eat them instead of just going ahead and eating them because I knew I was hungry. It was all with the fear of gaining weight, and I'm also not a stress eater, and during this whole time I was very stressed out. on a lot of things. It wasn't really like one particular big, well, I mean, it kind of was, but it wasn't really like one massive thing. It was kind of a lot of little things, and they started adding up, and then that kind of created anxiety and depression and all this other stuff, and I started dealing with things that I never have before. So this summer was rough. This summer was not fun. Yeah, going up to someone about that and talking about that is a very touchy subject, and it's something that you have to, if you're gonna ask a question, you have to say, you know, like, is that okay for me to ask? And like, let them know you don't have to answer every question I have and different stuff like that, because you never know. Commenting on how someone looks that you think has an eating disorder or know that has an eating disorder is never okay, whether it be positive or not, because you don't know how their mind's going to take it. Some might take it, you know, oh, you look so healthy, or oh, you look so good, whatever, you look great, whatever. Oh, but I look fat. You know, or someone that's like recovering or something and be like, oh, you look so healthy, you know, you're doing amazing, all this stuff, but I look fat. That could be happening in their mind. You don't know. If someone is underweight and they're dealing with this, saying same thing, you look really healthy, yeah, you're great, like, or are you great, or, you know, whatever it is that they say, you know, and, or, oh, you're so skinny, you know, how do you stay so skinny, or, you know, any comments on their weight. You just never know how their mind's gonna take it, you know. You never know if they're gonna be like, oh, I'm fat, or they're gonna be like, this is how I get compliments, or see, this really is working for me, you know, not eating as much and stuff is really working for me because I'm getting compliments, you know. People say I look healthy, then that's what I'll believe, you know. It's things like that. You never know, so you have to be very careful when you comment on someone's body at all, especially if you know or think maybe they do have an eating disorder, because you never know. And asking someone if they have an eating disorder is with that, tread lightly, be very careful how you word it. Don't be aggressive, you know, because you just never know what's gonna, it's just not okay half the time. For a while, I didn't really understand, like, what was causing this, and, like, how do I say this? Like, I didn't really know, face is itchy, can't itch it because I'm wearing foundation. Yeah, it's gonna be red. It's gonna be red because I was itching it. Anyways, that's great. But I didn't really understand because I've never dealt with, like, depression like this before. I've gone through depression phases because of situations, but they didn't last long. And this was like a while that I just didn't feel like myself, and I was always fatigued and just a lot of times emotionless. And when I did feel emotion, it was sadness. And if I did feel happy, it really wasn't like how I normally feel happy. It was for a quick moment, and then it was like back to suffering. But that's kind of how it was. And I feel like a lot of people I knew were kind of going through the same, like, depression wave at the same time. And I don't know why. It's the whole summertime sadness type thing, and I don't know why that happens, but it was weird. I don't really know how much or little I was eating, and I'm not really sure if I should say because it could be triggering. I was eating for the most part. There was one day I didn't eat anything, I think, at all that day. Maybe I might have ate something very little, like crackers or something like that. And I was basically just laying in bed all day, so I had no reason to eat, I felt like. And then that night I had to take a shower and wash my hair. So I was like, okay, I'll do that. And I was very tired already, and I was like, okay, I'll just do this and I'll go to bed. So it was like I was in the shower, and then I was like feeling really sick in a way, and just I kind of had a stomach ache, and I felt very lightheaded, and I was like, oh, I'm just tired. I just needed to hurry up, and then I can go lay in bed. And then at one moment, the room started going black, and it was kind of that feeling when you get up too fast and you kind of like get really lightheaded and the room starts going black. It was like that, but I was barely moving. I was just standing there. It started kind of going black. It was just like, I don't know. And so I decided to just sit down. I sat down in the shower, and then it started coming back, and I felt a little bit better, and I was like, I think I'm just dehydrated. I just need to hurry up, get out of the shower, and I can go lay in bed. And so I sat there for a moment and made sure my vision came back, made sure I was feeling a little bit better, and then I got up, still felt really lightheaded, still felt terrible, and I think before the room did go mostly black, but then it came back, and then at this moment, like, I hadn't even put conditioner in my hair at this point, or maybe I did, I don't even know. But I'm pretty sure I went to bed with conditioner in my hair still, like that night. But I tried to hurry up, whatever, and then the room went black. And I felt fine enough to the point where I'm like, well, I'm not just gonna like black out and fall out, right? Like, I'm like, maybe I should just wait a moment, maybe it'll come back. I'm like, okay, it's not coming back. And so I started kind of panicking. And then I just kind of reached and like turned off the water and reached for my phone, and I was listening to music, and it's waterproof, so don't worry. But then I like sat down, my vision came back a little bit, and I just texted my mom like, help. And she was just like, what? And I was just like, I kind of blacked out in the shower. I didn't fall, but I need help. And so she came in and asked like, are you okay? And so I was like, yeah, I think I'm just dehydrated. I don't think I ended up eating anything that day. I think I was just like, oh, I'm just tired. And so I went to bed instead of eating anything, because I felt like I can't eat anything right before bed, because then I'm like just gonna get fat or whatever. I don't know. I was gonna gain weight at least. That morning, I woke up really hungry still. And so then I ate something, and I started trying to eat a little bit more and at least eat a meal or two a day, because I didn't want to black out again. And so it was just like up and down like that. There was a lot of moments where I was just like, you know, there'd be times where I would be like, okay, I really need to be taking care of my body. Food isn't the worst thing ever. I should probably, you know, eat more, but then I would feel guilty, and I'm like, well, I just need to exercise more. So then I would start walking around the neighborhood, and then I would eat a meal when I came back. But I was like, you know, this meal is for the workout and because I didn't do anything today, so I didn't burn any energy. So things like that came up, and then I got really low at one point, and TMI for a guy, get over it. My period stopped. It was only for like, it was 2 weeks late, which has never happened before. So that's how I knew something. Like, I got really low, and I didn't have a scale, so I don't know how low I got, and I wasn't keeping track of that. But I still had fat. That was the thing. I still had fat, so I figured I'm not that far gone. I'm fine. Everything's good. I still have fat. I'm good, you know? And that was just kind of the lie I kept telling myself, was I'm still healthy, or I am fine, or I'm not that bad, it's not that serious. I kind of figured I had a little bit of an eating disorder, but I was kind of ignoring it, and just kept telling myself, I still have fat, I'm fine, I can keep pushing myself. And what I've learned is you either have to eat like probably a rabbit and, you know, go to the gym a heck of a lot, unless you're just naturally really, really skinny, which I've always been naturally skinny, but I've always had fat still, you know? but, and I've always had insecurities still, but, yeah, and I still don't know how skinny I got. My best guess is like 110, because the last time I weighed myself, and it was kind of when I realized that, I went to the doctor and got weighed because I had a flu or whatever, and I was like 115, and for someone at my height, I'm supposed to be 125, and I didn't see it as that big of a deal because I thought, oh, it's just wrong, it's, you know, whatever. And then after that, and a family member of mine reached out to me and said how it was really hard for her not seeing me eat, and that someone at my weight wouldn't be able to have a healthy baby. And that's something that really kind of woke me up from it all, was because I'm like, well, I want healthy kids. Like, I want to have a baby eventually. Like, I don't want to be like hurting myself to the point that, you know, it's going to be really hard for me to have kids. You know, I was very worried about that. And so then I was like, okay, I need to start doing better. And once I realized that my period was late, I started eating more because I realized that I'm like, oh, I'm probably really low. That's not good. So then I'm like, okay, maybe I should eat more, because, you know, and I had to kind of fight that. And it's not like I'm not eating that much and now I am. It was like I started actually fighting that thought and that mindset of I'm eating too much when I wasn't, and fighting that thought that I'm going to gain weight by eating this and different things like that, which aren't true. I mean, I'm going to gain weight, but I'm not going to gain weight to the point that I'm going to need like help getting out of my bed or something. But yeah, so that kind of woke me up, and then I reached out to a friend of mine, and I actually reached out to a couple of my friends, and even my fiance, who's amazing, and I love him, and I asked them, I'm like, be 100% honest with me. You're not going to hurt my feelings. Do you think I'm too skinny? And a few of them said no. One of them said, I always thought you were fine, and then I mentioned like my weight to her, and she was like, oh, that is really low. And then she started helping me after that and really encouraging me to do better, which helped. And then my best friend probably handled it the best out of anybody that's ever talked to me about it, because she said, I've seen you at a lot of phases at your life, but I will say that this is probably the skinniest you've been, and if you had gotten skinnier, I would have brought it up. I didn't think you were at total danger zone or whatever right now, but I was concerned. But it wasn't something I could bring up to you, because going up to someone who looks underweight or looks like they've lost a lot of weight, and going up to them and saying, you lost a lot of weight, are you okay? Is the same to someone's mind as going up to someone who's gained weight and saying, you've gained a lot of weight, are you okay? It's the same thing to someone's mind. It's still as damaging, it's still as negative, it still has that to someone. That's why if you're going to mention anything about someone's weight, you have to be very close with them, and you have to handle it with care and know how to, because it is a very touchy subject. You don't know what someone's triggers are to what's going to just completely shut them down and make them not listen to you. You don't know. So it's really difficult. It is. And helping someone with an eating disorder is very difficult. I'm still underweight. This is still something I'm struggling with. It's still something that I won't say I'm trying to get better every day, because I'm not. There are still days I don't want to get better. There are still days that I feel like, there's still days I want to get really low. To be honest, there are still days that I want to get low. I want to get skinny. I want to see how skinny I can get. Is all thoughts I've had and struggle with. feeling guilty about eating food is still something I struggle with. You know, going out to dinner because I'm scared I'm gonna have to get something, and then I'm gonna have to get something that is gonna be like 500 plus calories. Freaks me out. But through this whole process and everything, I felt like my spiritual life, I am a Christian for those that don't know, was really lacking, and I wasn't going to God as much as I should. And especially on days that I don't want to get better, I a lot of times feel scared to talk to God because I feel like he's gonna tell me to eat when I don't want to, or something like that. So it's just something, and it's something that I didn't know how to fix or to get better, because there's not exactly a lot of Bible verses in the Bible saying this or that about eating disorders, if any. You know, there's you are wonderfully and beautifully made, and there is all these things, and I've heard, you know, different stuff about when you're kind of body shaming yourself, you know, since we are God's creation, you're basically disrespecting God, and that you are saying what he's doing wasn't perfect. How he made you wasn't right. You know, calling yourself ugly, calling, you know, whatever it is that you're telling yourself when you look into the mirror, it's all things that are kind of like, I guess, offensive to God, because, you know, and I heard it explained this way. Imagine you worked on this painting, or whatever it is that you were making, this craft, whatever it was. Imagine you spent so much time and you put so much detail into it, and you just have it all mapped out, and it's so beautiful to you. You know, in Genesis, I don't know what chapter, verse, I feel terrible, but it says that God looked over all his creation and saw that it was good. That includes us, that includes Adam and Eve. And sin is what made it destruction, but he sees through that, and he sees a wonderful, beautiful creation that he made. And, you know, imagine that you are working on something like a painting and something, and then all of a sudden whoever buys it from you or whatever is all of a sudden like, I hate this is ugly, you know, or just starts mocking it. Like, ouch, you made that, you put so much time into that, you know, and it's just gonna come back and say, no, it's ugly. Or you were making you know, you may be making a robot, I don't know, and it came to life, I don't know, and then the robot decided to look in the mirror and say, I look ugly, how you made me was terrible, you know? Like, that's horrible, and that's what we're doing when we're body shaming ourselves, and we're saying to ourselves we're anything less than perfect. You know, God makes us new every day. He's the one that makes a pure heart and everything, and he sees you as perfect when you confess your sins and everything, and he makes your heart pure. He sees you as perfect. He doesn't look at anything in the past. And so for a while, and I'm finally kind of getting out of this funk of depression and anxiety and all that, and I think it's because I've been working on my spiritual life a lot more and praying more, and not just praying for myself, but praying for others, you know. If a friend is struggling, you know, on my way to work, I'll be praying, Lord, be with so-and-so as they deal with this, give them wisdom, give them guidance, give them all the fruits of the Spirit, and I'll name them, and I'll name all these things to help them, because I want the best for them. And the best thing to pray about when you're struggling with something is to be praying for others that are also struggling with that. So days that I feel like my anorexia is taking over, then I pray for others that have anorexia, that they would meet God and get help and not let this thing take over, but will take back control of their life and get better and get healthy and have a long, beautiful life. And there was certainly a lot of points that I felt really, there would be times where I'd be straight up honest with my friends, and I would, say, feel like I've been eating so much, and I gained like 2 pounds or something, but I feel like I'm so overweight, and I'll express that to them, and they'll be like, no, you're beautiful, like, don't tell yourself that, like, don't body shame, it's bad, stop it, you're beautiful, and she'll like do all these things, and it's amazing. And my fiance will constantly, like, he spoils me with compliments, honestly, but you can't always rely on others. You really, not even always, you can't rely on others' compliments and opinions of you to feed you, you need to be the one. And I felt like such a hypocrite half the time, because I would tell people that were struggling with body image or whatever, that a prayer that helps me is praying, God, help me see me how you see me, and help me act the way that you would have me act. And that's just a little prayer I like praying whenever I feel like I messed up or low self-esteem or whatever, because I'm not comfortable looking in the mirror and telling myself I'm beautiful, because I don't want to turn into pride, and I'm very like fearful that things like that are going to turn into pride. So I just like rather pray that God will just change how I see myself. That's the easiest way, because how God sees me isn't going to be prideful. It's not going to be flesh related. It's going to be wonderful, beautiful creation that he made, and the plans that he has, and all the gifts he's given you, and help you to learn to love yourself, because he's going to give you that love. I actually have a wonderful friend that's going to get me a book soon, because it's a book written by, and I'll do an update on this if y'all want to learn more about it, but it's a book. Her name's Nancy, and I can't remember her last name, but she deals with a lot of girls in need, and eating disorders is on the list, and she actually made a book just for eating disorders. And I have a wonderful friend that said she was going to get me that book, and I think she has it, and she was like, I can get you that book, don't worry, and all this. And I'm like, you would do that for me? Like, that's amazing, because I don't want to just go to like therapy or go to people that can help me with this eating disorder, because I know it's not going to lead back to God, and I want whatever advice I get lead back to God, because I know that's how I'm going to get better. I'm not going to get better just by mainstreaming it or whatever it is. It's something that needs to happen spiritually, because when you take care of your spiritual body, then it's going to impact your mental and your physical. They're all connected. And so I'll keep you guys posted on that. I'm going to try to post more about kind of my story, and I want to help others with this. Just the symptoms. A lot of times how I'd push myself to try to do better and try to eat more and all that stuff is, I'll look up like symptoms of being underweight, and it'll be like hair loss, dry skin, depression is one, I feel really lightheaded all the time, and I almost passed out at work one day because I only had one meal that day, and that was all I ate. And I've been doing that for a little bit, and then I would go to work and it was really hot, I didn't have any water, and I was just like literally about to just black out and probably pass out because I felt so terrible that day. And there'd be times where I'd be like, I felt like I couldn't stand up very long because I would get so winded, and I felt like my body was like using so much energy to just keep me upright. And just all this stuff, and it's just not worth it, I have to remind myself that trying to get the ideal weight that I want to get to isn't worth feeling headaches and lightheaded and getting so winded and tired all the time. Even making these videos, I feel like I have to stop and pause and take a breath and like just chill out because I get so tired. And also, it would be nice if I don't know if I said this in the beginning or not, but I'll say it again. If you're struggling with an eating disorder, if this is something that you relate with, please reach out to me, because I still feel alone. I feel like I already said this because I feel like I said it 1,000 times, but I do still feel alone. There's not much people around me that are dealing with this that understand it. There's a lot of people close to me that don't understand it. If you do have further questions about it all, you can text me. I'll let you know if you went too far or whatever. You don't have to worry. Preferably over text though, because I get really anxious and like blank out and forget, and like I don't know how to like, I don't know, talking to people is scary sometimes. But I hope this video helps somebody, and I'm glad I finally made it, and hopefully I can edit it soon and post it soon, because I feel like this is just a weight on my chest that I want to get out and express and let people know. So yeah. Thanks for watching. I'm Lena.